for this hands-on sessions. So this is our last session in which we'll try to cover are you able to hear me? Hello? Yeah. So up till now we have done with the Firebase and the app development using MIT App Inventor. We have seen that the data available on a Firebase we can receive on a app, and also we have seen that any data available on app we can send to the Firebase. So bidirectional data transfer can be performed by using the Firebase and MIT App Inventor. Now the remaining part is with the hardware. This hardware. Okay, so our case is what we should send the data from this hardware to the Firebase. Okay, and let me receive that in the app. And the another thing that send the action control. Okay, send action from the app to the Firebase and again receive that action into your IoT node. Okay, so both the things we want to do. Okay, so this is what the part we have done. We have done with the here the Firebase. Okay, and its communication from Firebase to app and again app to Firebase we have done. Now this part is remaining, that is the hardware, okay, and its connection with the Firebase. Okay, so already we have a good connection between Firebase and app is there. So only we have to check with your hardware connection with Firebase. If it is done, then it means we can check the hardware data on a mobile app, and also whichever the actions are there from your mobile app that we can receive at the IoT node. Okay, so as I told, we will use the ESP32. So this is what the ESP32 boards are there. So there are number of ESP32 boards are available in the market, and you can buy any of these. Few are the ESP32 chip based, and few are ESP32 system on chip based, SoC based are there. So just like this one, all these are the system on chip based modules are there, whereas this one and this one both are the ESP32 IC based modules are there. So all these are the ESP32 programming modules are there, or IoT boards are there. So what is there in this board or in this IC? We have a dual core Extensa processor is there, and we have a Wi-Fi of 2.4 gigahertz, which can run up to 2.4 150 Mbps. We have a Bluetooth. Both Bluetooths are available, BLE as well as the serial Bluetooth is available. The architecture is 32-bit. That is very also advantageous. Okay, and then we have the clock frequency which goes up to 40 megahertz. This is also very good advantage when we work with the Arduino and the ESP32, because ESP32 gives very high clock frequency. RAM goes to 1512 kilobytes. And another thing is that we get around 30 to 36 of number of GPIOs. Generally, we get only around 26 pins only, because most of the pins are internally connected with the SoC and they are not generally usable. So to work with this ESP32 IoT boards, there are different programming environments are available, just like Arduino IDE, or where we can use the C or C++. Then we can use the Espressif IDF, which is their own framework which uses the C++. Then we can also use the MicroPython IDEs. Any Python IDEs can be used, which supports the MicroPython, can be used to program the ESP32. Then we can also use the JavaScript There is another language called as a Lua, which is also used to program the ESP32, and there are other languages which also supports. Nowadays, the community are developing the different IDEs to support the different languages for the ESP. That is another advantage to work with the ESP32. Only the thing is that when we work with the MicroPython, JavaScript or Lua, the support of different libraries very less. Therefore, most of the people work with the Arduino IDE or Espressif IDE. Espressif IDE is their own framework, and most of the development APIs are already available there. Okay. What are the different peripherals available in this chip or in this SoC? We have almost 18 analog pins are there. We have 3 SPI interfaces are there. Out of this, only 2 are visible. Then 3 UART interfaces are there. 2 I2C, 16 PWM output channels, 2 DACs, 2 are I2S. That is for interconnected sound interface. So directly with these pins, we can connect audio interface with this IC. And then we have 10 capacitive sensing GPIOs are there. So capacitive sensing inputs or the switches can be directly connected to this 10 GPIOs. So very good number of peripherals are available with this ESP32 along with the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So Bluetooth is also, both the Bluetooths are available. BLE, that is the low power Bluetooth, as well as the serial Bluetooth is available. So we have a very good advantage there. So this is what the pin connection for ESP32 development kit. I'm showing this is for 30 GPIO development kit. Okay, as you see, the different different IoT boards, these pin numbers will be the same, only their location will be different on a board. Okay, so it means that GPIO 1 will be the UART TX, that will be the same, but their location may change depending on the module that you are using. So here you can see these all pins are can be configured by using the numbers of GPIO. Just like this pin can be configured by using the GPIO 23. In the same way, if you see, this is the analog pin ADC1 channel 0. So while writing the ADC1 channel 0, it is not necessary to write this one. You just write the GPIO 36. With this also, we can make this pin as a input to analog, or we can make this pin as a digital. So therefore, we have so many pins are there, and you can see each pin acts as a having multiple functions. So see this one. So last pin, you can see this pin has RTC pin. This is also SPI pin. This is a touch pin. This is a ADC pin, and this is a simple digital GPIO pin. So each the single pin has having a 5 multiple functions available. At a time, we can use only single function. Then there is a power source, 3.3 volt is available. Also, we have a 10-bit ADC. So the ADC available is a 10-bit. So that is very good ADCs in our IoT board. Okay. So what actually we'll do, we'll connect one of the sensor to analog channel, and let me try to send that data to our Firebase, and let me connect one LED on any of these pins, and let me try to control that LED from our app. So we have 2 apps are there, one for monitoring purpose and another for controlling purpose. Okay. So what actually we'll do, for one code we'll write for monitoring, and one code will write for the controlling purpose. Okay, I hope you are understanding this one. So such type of circuit will do simple LED interface. LED will connect, and this LED actually will control from the Firebase. So simple, the instruction that generally we use, that is the pin mode, to make the pin as a output pin, and by using the pin, that is the digital write, we can make either that pin high or low. Okay, just like if you see here, if you write a digital write, then it will be high. If you write a digital write low, then it will be low. Most of you know already aware about the Arduino programming, so you know all these things. If you are not aware, so remember that every Arduino programming has the 2 parts. One is called as one is called as setup, and the another is called as, this is the setup, okay, and another is called as loop. The one-time instruction that is needed for to run the code are generally we have to write in a setup, and those instructions that we have to repeat continuously, that we have to write in a loop. The loop, it means that it is an infinite loop in which any instruction that any command or instruction that we write that runs continuously for infinite time. Okay, so if you take the example here, whether this pin GPIO 23 is acting as an input or output, that we have defined in the setup. Since we know that to define the pin as an input or output, this thing we have to do only once. Therefore, we have written it in a setup. Whereas to make this LED on and off continuously, therefore we have written these statements of making the pin high and then delay, and making the pin low and adding the delay. So these all 4 lines we have added in a loop, so that these 4 lines runs continuously in the loop for infinite time, and it will blink the LED continuously. So in this way we can connect the LED at pin, whichever the GPIO pin that we want. For there we can connect this LED. Then we connect one potentiometer like this. One of the terminal of the potentiometer will go to VCC, one of the terminal of this potentiometer will go to ground, and the middle terminal of this potentiometer will go to any of the GPIO pins, say 34, 32, or any GPIO pin. And now in this case, we know that the potentiometer is the input device. Therefore, whatever the pin number is there, that pin will act as the input. So therefore, in the setup, we can define this pin as the input. Okay. Even since this is an analog pin, so it is not even necessary whether to define the pin as an input. Why this is so? Because when we assign the analog read, it means that whatever the pin that we are assigning to this function, it automatically considers that whatever the pin number is there, that is working as a analog pin. Okay, so we don't need to even define, but it is a good practice to define whichever the pin is there, that will be the input pin. So here we have defined the pin number 34. Then we use that variable port pin into your function analog read, and that is reading the value. And then whatever the analog values are there, converted into a digital, we are getting in a port value, and that we are sending to the serial pin. So in this way, this function is able to read the analog value from the potentiometer. Okay, so the function, the port value is equal to analog read. This is used to read the values from this potentiometer. So okay, so it means that digital write can be used to switch this LED on and off, and this analog read can be used to read the analog value from this potentiometer, LDR, or thermistors like devices. Okay, so what actually I will do, I will connect one potentiometer to one of the pin of this development board, and then we'll try to send that data to the Firebase. And on an app, we'll try to check whether that data is changing or not. Okay, so we'll go to the system. So you can see here, I hope this is visible to you. Here, this is the development board that I have connected on a book. Okay. I have connected on breadboard. This is the ESP32 development board. I have connected one LED, and I have kept the analog pin open. So we'll get the random values. So don't worry about that. You can connect any sensor, or we'll get the random values. Okay. Now what actually we'll do, we'll make our code for monitoring purpose. Okay. So already I have prepared this code. I will share this code with you. Okay. So those who would like to make this code on your hardware, you can do at your end also. Okay. So what actually I have done here, so let us define first. Is it visible to all of you, or increase the font size? Okay, I think now this is visible to you. Okay, so now you can see we'll start with the. So what actually you have to do? You have to first install few of the softwares. Just like if you are not aware of all these things, then you just have to go to arduino.cc and you have to install the software. So just go to download page. Okay. So if you go to the software and you can click this ID. So download for whichever OS you have, you just download it. So just like Windows 7 and newer, so click over here and it is going to download your ID. Okay. So this is what the software we have. This is the Arduino. Now, few things that we need to work with the Firebase. As I have said, the Firebase works with the API base. What actually it means that, it works with the SDK base. It means that there is a SDK needed on your device, which is sending the data to your Firebase. Okay. So in the same way, in the MIT App Inventor, what we did, we used the Firebase database experimental what can I say, the palette, correct? And then we have given the Firebase URL, then Firebase secret key, then your bucket name, everything there, correct? It means that there is already SDK we are using in the MIT App Inventor itself. In the same way, the same type of SDK we have to use for our microcontroller. So therefore, how to use it? So therefore, there is already one library available for this ESP32 or 8266. So if you go to the sketch tools, and if you go to manage libraries, and before that, actually, if you just install the Arduino software and if you have a ESP32, the Arduino software that we install, it does not support the ESP32 directly because it supports only Arduino boards. Okay, so to provide the ESP32 support, what actually you have to do? You have to add the support of ESP32 in Arduino software. Okay, so for that purpose, what actually you have to do? You just have to go to the file and you have to go to the preference, and here is a text that is download from Espressif. This Espressif is the manufacturer of ESP32. Therefore, this link we have to add in the additional boards manager URL. What actually it means that those boards which support the Arduino IDE can be added into the Arduino IDE by using these links. Okay, so what actually Arduino IDE is going to do, it will check these URLs and it will go to that URL and it will check whether any hardware or board is available, support available or not, and it will download that support into a Arduino IDE. So just like you can see here, one JSON file is I have added for ESP8266 and another is for here the ESP32. Okay, I'll share both the links in the chat box so that if you want to share it too. So use these links and paste in your preferences. Okay, once you are done with this, now you have to go to the tools and then you have to go to the you have to go to the board, and here is the board manager, and you have to just wait for some time because you have given the additional board links to the Arduino IDE. So it will check for different platforms available for your devices. And now check for ESP32 here. Okay, now it will give you this ESP32, and as already I have installed, it is showing that it is installed. So you just select whatever the version and click on install, and automatically it will take some time, and the complete support of ESP32 for Arduino IDE get installed. Okay, and then search for any other control that you want, say 8266. So this is also I have installed. So you just select the particular version and install it. Okay, so in this way, the different boards can be installed in Arduino IDE for whose the support is available in IDE. Okay. Then once we are done with this, now next we have to use the libraries which are required for working with the Firebase. So now go to the tools again and go to the manage libraries. Now click here. Again, you have to wait for some time because every time, most of the times, it downloads the recent updates for every library. So it takes some time to get the information of all the installed libraries and the libraries available on Arduino Cloud. Okay, once you are done with this, now what is the library we need? The Firebase. So, right, Firebase here. Okay. Now it will give you the support for Firebase. So there are so many libraries available here. Out of this, we will select this one, Firebase ESP32 client. There is also Firebase ESP8266 client is available. Or you can also use the Firebase Arduino client library for ESP8266, ESP32. So out of these three, you can use anyone. If you are using ESP8266, go for this. If you are using ESP32, go for this. Okay. So I'll go for, as I am using only ESP32, so I am just adding the ESP Firebase client for ESP32. Do not try to use each and every library in your Arduino IDE, because sometimes what happens, just like this is the library Firebase Arduino client library for ESP8266 and ESP32. It is somewhat larger in size library for this other than these two. Okay, due to this, what happens? It also takes more space when we make our coding and when it get compiled with your Arduino IDE. So if it is necessary only for your program, then only use it. Okay, so that's why I have used the Firebase ESP32 client. Okay, try to understand this one. Now just click any one and install it. Okay, once your installation is done, now you are ready. There are other few libraries are available, just like JSON library, which is needed for you. So there is a JSON library. So this is the Arduino JSON is there, which is already installed. So this is another one, Firebase JSON, that you have to install. Firebase JSON. So this is the library that you have to install. That is the Firebase JSON. See the The developer of this library is same who has developed the Firebase ESP32 client. Okay. So install this one again, Firebase JSON. Now once you are done with this, so two libraries that we needed to install to work with this Firebase. Now once you are done with this, now come to our coding. Now you can see here I have added the Wi-Fi first. So by adding this, you can activate the Wi-Fi of ESP32. So by just adding this Wi-Fi, it is not going to activate. So there is a Wi-Fi begin which actually activates your Wi-Fi. So library for Wi-Fi, then there is another library for your Firebase ESP32. So this is just like acting as a SDK for your ESP32 on a device. Then I have connected a sensor on a pin number 32. Therefore, I have defined the sensor which is connected on a pin number 32. So I'm right now I am connected a sensor, a simple potentiometer as a input device. Then I have added here the Wi-Fi SSID. I have given the name of my hotspot. So actually I am using my mobile hotspot to provide the internet to my ESP32. So therefore I have given here the hotspot SSID and hotspot password. Okay, so this Wi-Fi SSID means whatever your hotspot is there, it's SSID and its password. Okay, if you do not understand anything, please write in our chat box. Okay, so that we'll understand each and every part of this. Now, in the same way, see the Firebase URL that we have written in the MIT App Inventor, we have written here like again. So Firebase URL. This is the Firebase URL. So you know from where you have to copy this. Okay. So it means that whichever the MIT App Inventor, whichever the app development you are using, say so you can see here the monitoring app projects. Projects. Click on monitoring app, and whichever the data, whichever the URL and the secret key is there, that should be the same in your ESP32 code. So now you can see here, this is what the link we have, Firebase URL. So this same should be here. Okay. So this and this should match. Then this Firebase token. So I'll copy it as it is from this one, because already we have tested with the Firebase and your MIT App Inventor, so we do not have any question there, correct? So just copy this URL from here and paste it. Then Firebase token, so copy this token, that is the secret key, and paste here. So this is the URL and the secret key. Remember that this secret key and URL should match in your IoT board code as well as in your app code. Okay, then and then only there will be a complete communication through Firebase. Then next we'll assign an instance for Firebase data. So we have created the name with FB data, that is a Firebase data. Okay, this is why this is actually we have created. Sometimes there may be possible that you may send the data to multiple locations, means multiple Firebase database. Suppose I have my own Firebase database and I have my manager, and that manager has also another Firebase, and I want to send the data at two locations at the same time. So what I will do, I will add the Firebase URL 1, Firebase secret 1, then Firebase URL 2, then Firebase secret 2. And what I will do, I will use Firebase data FB data 1, and then I will use Firebase data FB data 2. Okay, so in this way we can send data at two different locations. Fine. So this is what generally it is called as an object. Okay, so this is what we call as a object creation. If you want, so to avoid the confusion between the number of objects, we generally assign one name to your object creation. So we have a FB data. Now we will go to the setup. In the setup, what we are writing, we are putting the serial begin of 1,15,200 of baud rate. Then we are assigning this pin. So what is the name of this pin? Pin is sensor. So this pin should act as an input. So therefore we are assigning the pin mode as an input. Then now we are starting the Wi-Fi. So to start the Wi-Fi, it should be started with some SSID and password, so that it get connected with particular SSID and password. So therefore we have written an instruction Wi-Fi.begin, and we have entered its input parameters, that is Wi-Fi SSID and Wi-Fi password, so that it get automatically, once you start our IoT board, it will search for that SSID and it will automatically get connected over it. Then we have written here one serial print that it is connected to, so that on a serial monitor we can observe whether it is connecting to Wi-Fi or not. If it is not get connected, so we are having a one instruction here, that is while if Wi-Fi status is not connected. So this is already inbuilt keyword in the Wi-Fi library, that is WL underscore connected. It means that WL underscore connected will shows the value either 0 or 1. If it is 0, it means it is not connected. If it is 1, it means it is connected. So we are checking if Wi-Fi dot status is not equal to 0 or 1. So if it is not connected, then it will just print dot 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 dot, and it will remain there in the while loop. Because if your IoT board is not get connected with the Wi-Fi, then there is no question of sending any data. Oh, sorry, there is no question of reading any data and sending to the Firebase, because it is not connected to the Wi-Fi and it is not connected to the internet. Okay. Then once it is get connected, so it will be go out of this loop and it will come here, and now we'll start connecting with the Firebase. So with this Firebase, we have to write firebase.begin. Now where to connect? So already we know this is the URL of our Firebase database, and this is our secret key. So we have given the two inputs, one Firebase URL and another is Firebase secret. So with this, our Firebase get connected. Remember that it is going to connected when there is a internet connected. And now it will added here the another instruction, that is a Firebase.reconnect Wi-Fi. It means that if again Wi-Fi disconnected and it get reconnected, it get automatically connected to the Firebase. There may be a possibility that suddenly your Wi-Fi may disconnect, your internet may disconnect. So this instruction will take care of this, that even though your Wi-Fi get disconnected, still your Firebase will wait for the Wi-Fi get connected, and if it get connected, it automatically get connected to the Firebase. Then we'll go to the loop, and just 4 to 3-4 lines of code is there. So as I have given in my presentation, that if you want to read the sensor, simply we can read it using analog. So as I have an analog sensor, you can use the analog read data. So we have an analog read of sensor, that is a pin number. Which pin number is there? 32 we are reading. Okay, and we are putting that data into a variable sensor data. Okay, and this sensor data we are putting in on a serial monitor, so that we can check whether we are getting the data or not. And this same data now we want to send to the some location. Okay, so what is my bucket name? My bucket name is farm monitoring. So I will go to my Firebase. I will check what is my bucket name is there. So my bucket name is what? This one. So here, what is the bucket name? We'll go to the TApp inventor. So whatever your bucket name is, there just copy it. Okay, and put here. So this is my bucket, and in bucket, at what location you want to send the data? This is the soil moisture. Soil. Copy this soil moisture here. So right here as it is. Check the spelling and everything so that and there is a delay of 1 second, so that after every 1 second there will be a data updation on this cloud. Okay, so let will compile this code and upload in our microcontroller. If you have any doubts, you can either put in a chat box, or you can mute yourself. Sorry, you can unmute yourself. So it will take some time to compile and upload. Till the time, if you have any question, you can put in a chat box. Yeah, there are so many modules available which has, I got a question that is there any module having the GSM and the Bluetooth Wi-Fi. So even with the ESP32, you will find there is a GSM, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi modules available from Adafruit itself. So just search for the different modules on the internet. On your computers, it will not take this much of time. Actually, I kept my laptop on from almost for 7 hours, so it is not behaving somewhat differently. But for once, first time if you compile any code on Arduino IDE, generally it takes time. But second time if you compile the same code, it will not take. I got one question that what about the security of data? Let me tell you something that ESP32 itself supports the encryption type of data transfer, that is the AES and ACS. So if you go to the tools and you can check here what type of security it provides. Okay, so here is the module. I'll show you how this encryption and other algorithm supports. So once you start uploading the code, you can start the boot button on the kit. It will upload the code. Now recently, which are the new IDs there? I think this button pressing is not required. Now the code get uploaded. Let me go to the MIT App Inventor. Sorry, Firebase. I can see here this value is changing automatically. Is it? Are you able to see here? Look, I am not assigning anything there. See, this value is automatically changing. Why this is? Because it is reading the data from pin number 32, correct? So therefore, whichever the analog data is there, since I am kept that pin as a floating, therefore it is reading any unknown values. And this data is coming from where? Your device. So let me share you the Android app that we have developed, so that we'll check whether it is showing that data on Android app or not. Let me open the app. See the app. Now you can see. Okay, now you can see the data which is coming from our IoT board. We are getting on a app. Okay, so now this is a simple app that I have just made. You can assign a coloring and everything, tables, different images, and in this way you can get the real data from your app, sorry, from your hardware. So now this is data which we are getting from the our IoT device or IoT. Fine. Now this is the one part. Another next part is that we would like to control the device. So for that purpose, we have made the another app, correct? So this is already we have made the database for farm control. So let me open that app. Okay, and we have seen that if you open that app, and we have seen that the values of so here you can see in the app the pump is on and pump is off. Likewise, the text we are getting, and the same information is now updating on the Firebase. Now, what is our task? Whatever the information is going to update on our Firebase, that information we would like to read. Okay, so now you can see here this is a true. So if I press the form button, it becomes false. So it means that we have to just read the bucket farm control. Okay, so where to read the data from the bucket farm control, which key we have to read the farm control and its value in which form it is getting the text or the string form, that is a false or true. So what actually we have to do? If it is true, then we have to switch on the LED. If it is false, then we have to switch off the LED. That is what actually we have to do. So for that purpose, let me write a code. So see here, this Wi-Fi that is needed, the database Firebase ESP32 library, which is also needed. Then, since we have connected the sensor at the 32 pin, we'll replace the pin number at the different one. So I have connected a LED at pin number 23. Then the hotspot needed is the same. The URL and everything is again same. Okay, the Firebase data is again same. So most of the part is same. Only now in this case, whatever the data that we will receive from the, see, in this case, for the controlling, we are reading the data from the Firebase. So it means that when we read the data from the Firebase acknowledge the data in the form of JSON. Okay, so JSON is the one of the type of sending the data, okay, from server and client. So what actually we have to do? We have to decode that data, where actually your field is there, where is the key, where is your value. So all these things we have to decode, and for that purpose now we have to use the JSON library. Okay, so everything is almost will be there. Everything is almost will be there. These 3 lines are going to out from this. This setup will be as it is. Okay, nothing is going to change. So we'll take the code for the control.
Sir, sensor pin should be output na?
I'm changing it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm writing like this. So Wi-Fi is already there. Firebase is there. Now at the pin number 23, we have connected the output device, that is a LED. The hotspot SSID and password is as it is there. Now Firebase host, and I think this should be how to replace. So this has to be replaced. So once you are done with this host ID and this one, okay, now here we have created something. So Firebase data we have written as a FB data, then Firebase JSON as written as a JSON, and there is another also library that is Firebase JSON data, and that we are calling as a my JSON data. Okay, so now we have used one string, that is a key value. Okay. So what is actually the string is there? So we are getting either false or true. So that false or true we are keeping in the this variable key value. Okay. Then the serial begin the same, that is 1,50,200, and the LED is now in this case it will be output. Right? As these are correctly pointed out that this one should be the output. Then begin the Wi-Fi with the SSID and password and connect it to the same SSID. Then check whether the Wi-Fi is connected or not. If it is connected, then move ahead. If it is not connected, then be there in the while loop itself. Okay, now start the Firebase with the URL and the key. Change it to this one will be selected. URL, and this one should be. Then again the same instruction, that is Firebase.reconnect Wi-Fi. So if in middle if Wi-Fi disconnected, automatically if the Wi-Fi get connected, again reconnect to Firebase. Now here is the something that is very important. So from this part, so now I'm writing here the Firebase.get. See, in last section we have written set. Here actually we have written set. See, set means what? Actually we are storing the data from your IoT node to Firebase. Now in this case we are writing get. It means that we would like to get the value from your Firebase. Hope you are understanding. And from which bucket you want? The bucket should be your fire monitoring. Let me copy this fire monitoring bucket. Sorry, farm mon. No, sorry, our bucket is something different here for the control. So which bucket name is? Our bucket name is farm control in our case. So let me put that here. In this case, our bucket is farm control. So what actually we are doing? Whatever the farm control bucket is there, and whatever the values are there, just read it and put in FB data, okay, in the form of JSON. अब हमें क्या करना है? So whatever that JSON is there, so FB data will be converted into a string, and that string we are keeping in one variable, that is a Firebase string. Okay, so is there any Firebase string variable defined? So Firebase is not defined. Then we have JSON. So whatever the string is there, that we are attaching to a library JSON with the name set JSON data. Now in this set JSON data, we would like to check or read for a particular key, and which key you would like to check. So in our case, it is a pump control. So let will copy it and paste it into our. Going to get the value of your pump control key into the variable myJSON data. Now from this myJSON data, this myJSON data will contain two values. One, the key, that is the pump control, and its value, that is the string value. So what actually we have to do? We have to again separate out the key and its value. So again we are calling for this one, that is a myJSON data dot string value. So in myJSON data dot string value, what it means, whatever the key is there, its value will be stored in this variable, okay, which is already we have declared here. Okay, then once we get, and what we will get, what is the value of this pump control key? The value will be either false or true. So we are checking whether that value is true or false. So just like here, see, so we'll check whether once the value we receive, print it on a serial monitor, so that check whether that we are getting the correct value or not. Okay, and then we will check that key value, whether the key value is equal to true. If it is true, then we have to make the LED high, else make the LED low. Else means what? The key value will be false. It is not necessary that you have to write a true or false only. You can write 1 or 2, you can write 10 or 20, anything you can write. But that you have to put in your Firebase database itself. Okay, and the same information also be sent from your app. Means everywhere you have to change the same thing. So if you want to do this for 1 and 2, it means your app should send 1 and 2, your Firebase database should receive 1 and 2, and your controller should read the 1 and 2, and you should compare the 1 and 2 only. Okay, so in this way we have to write a code for this. Let me execute this code and upload this. So let us upload the same code again. So there are few people who have already completed the part of Firebase and app development. I'll share this course to you. You try at home again, so that you can develop the complete control and monitoring. If you understand this one, now try to combine both the codes together, so that the same controller can send the sensor data to Firebase, means in a single app, and from the same single app we can also control. Means just like suppose you are monitoring a farm and you are also controlling the pump. So it means on a half part of your app we will get the monitoring data, and half part of this there will be some switches. In the same way we can control the home or anything that you want by using this. This way of methods, right? Till the time the program get uploaded to the development board. If you have any questions or doubts, you can ask me, or have any ideas so that we can discuss, or if any suggestions are there that are also welcome, so that we can have that suggestions in our various faculty development programs. Also, now we are heading towards the end of this session. After this, we'll have a valedictory program. I also request a few of the participants to have the feedback, because your feedback, the true feedback will help us to improve the delivery, and also that will also help us to give the exact knowledge of a particular technology to the our participants. So the code is now going to upload. So again, press the button. So let me check where is the cloud. Yeah, this is the cloud. Now check what is the value here, true, and check here the status of the LED. It is on. Now I am pressing the button again. So check the value in the cloud. It is false. Now LED goes to off. Again I am pressing it. It is true. Now LED goes on. Again I am pressing the button on my app. It is going to false, and so it means that it is working great. Okay, so it is not necessary. See, remember that while developing this type of products or this type of connections, there is no necessity to show through which your data is routing. Okay, generally we show the people from where actually your data is routing. So there is no necessity to talk about from where actually your data is routing. So whether it is Firebase, ThinkSpeak, or whichever the server that you are using, generally don't tell to the people, because it is keep with you. Sometimes people may add or ask the different keys from you, and they may interfere in your data. So to avoid such things, the information regarding your app and the information regarding your development must be known to other people. So you can see very perfectly it is working. So one bucket is working for control and one bucket is now working for the monitoring. Can anybody tell me the same code can be used for the purpose of monitoring as well as control? Yes, anybody would like to say?
For form security, sir, we can use this type.
For which?
Form security, sir.
Yes, your applications are up to you. That yes, correct, sir. You can use such type of devices for farm security also. There are new models are coming up in the market for the ESP32 that comes with the camera also. So you can install the devices having the camera. Some of the GPIO pins also remain there. You can connect some output device to that ESP32 as well. So you can receive the camera frame, image frame from the ESP32. You can read it, and depending on that, we can take the action, and we can send that action from your app to your IoT node. So ESP32 cam is the model which comes with the camera. So buy that one, okay, and you make an app in such a way that it will have the camera frame there. So live stream of that ESP32 cam will be received on your app. So so lively we can check what is happening in your farm or any security location, and depending on that you can perform any action from your app itself. So there are so many ways by which this method can be used. I just request all of you, do not use such type of methods for the critical application where the timing criteria is very less, just like the medical or health related, where certain action we have to take. So such type of things, don't use this thing, because there is a lag in the, though the Firebase gives you very less lag, but if you have your own servers that gives you very less lag than these clouds, that will be welcome. But if you buy the pro versions of this Google Cloud that are very fast, obviously the internet connectivity and the devices that you are using also matters to provide you the best speed from your device to MIT app. Okay, so I'm done with my hands-on sessions. If you have any questions, you can ask me now, or we'll stop here. Okay, so I think most of you are now, I think we are tired from the last 5 days, and hopefully this hands-on session will help you. These hands-on sessions are now recorded and will provide the link to you. I request all of you, if this is going to be helpful for you and your students, you please circulate them with your students.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So the code or whatever we are writing in MIT App Emulator will be the same for if you combine both the things.
Yes. Hello. If you just, the simple thing is that just combine both the codes of IoT node and combine the MIT app blocks together and try to get a good device. Okay, add a number of more buttons to get the smart home automation like devices. Anything else? So thank you all of you for joining this session. Now I'm going to end this meeting and we'll go to the validated session, and at 6 p.m. we'll have our test. So in validity, actually I request few of the participants to have their feedbacks about our faculty development program, so that will help us. Okay, so thank you all of you for this joining all the sessions.